You are now watching the Peach.
Welcome to Trash or Treasure Battle Royale. This series puts two games in the ring to determine which game reigns supreme. And in this episode, the battle is between the two Princess Peach games, those being the brand new Princess Peach Showtime and the original Princess Peach game, Super Princess Peach. I made a retrospective of Super Princess Peach about 2 years ago. At the time, I thought Nintendo wouldn't give a Princess Peach game another go, but lo and behold, 2 years later, we have a brand new Princess Peach game, being Princess Peach Showtime. Princess Peach Showtime is not a sequel to Super Princess Peach. Even though the two games star Peach and have some similarities, they're actually quite different. But by putting the two games in the ring, we'll be determining which is the better game. Not only that, which game serves as a better game for Princess Peach. From Vibe Island to Sparkle Theater, it's time to put Super Princess Peach and Princess Peach Showtime to the ultimate test to see which one wins the brawl. So get ready to rumble and let the battle begin! The story of Super Princess Peach begins with Bowser and his minions capturing not just the Toads, but the Mario Brothers as well. Bowser then takes them off to Vibe Island and also acquires the legendary Vibe Scepter. The Vibe Scepter not only has the power to control emotions, but probably can release high amounts of dopamine, if you know what I mean. Yeah, there are some hilarious implications, but the main thing about the story is that it serves as a complete role reversal for Mario games. The Super Mario Bros. Games usually have Mario and Luigi rescuing Peach, while here, it's Princess Peach rescuing Mario and Luigi. Princess Peach Showtime, on the other hand, goes for an entirely different story. The Mario Brothers and Bowser, completely absent from the game. Instead, we're greeted to a new villain and cast of characters. Peach and the Toads go to Sparkle Theater to watch a play, but unfortunately, Grape wreaks havoc on Sparkle Theater. The two games have one similarity with the story. In Super Princess Peach, Peach teams up with a new companion, being a sentient umbrella named Perry, whereas in Showtime, the Guardian of Sparkle Theater Stella teams up with Peach to save Sparkle Theater. Now usually, I'm known to consider the damsel in distress plot the pinnacle of lazy writing, but here's the thing. For Princess Peach's first adventure, it makes sense, and it's cool to actually see it. The problem with the Mario Rescue Peach plot is that it's been used a whopping 22 times. It's lame. Only now is Nintendo retiring that tired story. But in Super Princess Peach, it's interesting to see considering you see a detailed cutscene showcasing how Bowser pulled it off at the beginning of the game, and you also get to see him interact with his minions. Princess Peach Showtime also has a typical story, and that's fine. But, unlike Super Princess Peach, it introduces many new interesting characters for a potential series, just like how Luigi's Mansion introduced King Boo and Professor Egad. I love both stories, but there can only be one winner, and the point for story goes to Princess Peach Showtime. The most important aspect of a game is gameplay, how well designed a game is, and if it has good mechanics. Super Princess Peach is a 2D platformer in the line of the Super Mario Bros. Games and Yoshi's Island. Your goal is to run, jump, take out enemies, and reach the goal. If you played a Super Mario Bros. Game before, you'll have no issue getting into Super Princess Peach, but rather than just being Super Mario Bros. But with Princess Peach, the game is actually quite different and introduces its own new mechanics. Princess Peach has her own unique ability similar to Super Mario Bros. 2. She can float, but there's a twist. Her new companion, Perry, not only allows her to float, but gives her a vast array of abilities. Many you'll unlock as the game progresses with the coins you collect. Coins being useful? Looks like Peach does what Mario don't. Peach can hit enemies with Perry, and he can even eat them. Perry? More like Nicholas Perry, am I right? And you can even throw enemies a la Super Mario Bros. 2. Princess Peach has a wide variety of moves, and it makes the game so satisfying and fun to play. I'd go as far to say, it's more fun to control Peach in Super Princess Peach than it is to control Mario in most 2D Mario games. I say most because there's a wonderful exception. But the defining feature of Super Princess Peach is how she can power up. Peach doesn't need flowers, she doesn't need mushrooms. Instead, she has her raw and ultra powerful emotions. By using the touchscreen, you can activate Peach's different emotions. Happy Peach can spin around and fly. Angry Peach can burn wood and cause a powerful earthquake. And Sad Peach can run faster than an emo boy in a Hot Topic and can water plants. There's also Zen Peach, which relaxes her and she can recover HP. All these emotions only last for a limited time, because there's a gauge you need to fill up. It prevents her from being overpowered, although most emotions aren't dependent on a level situation. Now, before getting into if the emotions are good game design, let's address the more important thing. I just saw a review where a guy said that they're gross, and he wouldn't play the game because emotions are a stereotype of women, and Super Princess Peach was made with poor intentions. Actually, Princess Peach can control her emotions, showing just how powerful she is. Just like how you'd be if you could control yourself from making such absurd takes. You know what's truly gross? If the emotions led to bad game design. And I'm happy to say, Super Princess Peach's emotions are a lot of fun to use. They're not extensions of Peach's abilities that can be used like the Fire Flower. What I mean by this is that they often act as a key to a solution, similar to how the power-ups in 3D Mario games are often used specifically to obtain a Power Star or Power Moon. You can use them to reach high areas and take out enemies, but they're primarily situational. But because Peach already has a vast moveset, the gameplay is still great. Super Princess Peach still holds up incredibly well, even nearly 2 decades later. Getting into Princess Peach Showtime, the game at first glance might appear to be kinda similar, but other than the two games being Peach starring side-scrollers, that's where the similarities end. Super Princess Peach can easily be described as a 2D platformer, whereas Princess Peach Showtime is a side-scrolling action game that dabbles into multiple different genres. All the levels are categorized as plays. The first level of each play has Princess Peach start off as regular Peach. She can jump and use Stella for a ribbon attack. You're mainly interacting with the environments and the characters, sometimes taking out enemies, but Showtime's main claim to fame is with the transformations, officially known as ensembles. By using the power of a sparkle, Peach can transform. In one play, she's a sword fighter, while in another, she's baking cookies and decorating cakes. There's 10 main transformations you'll encounter. This has led many to write the game off as inconsistent or directionless. But the good news is that all the transformations are a lot of fun, and the amount of variety prevents the game from being stale. Never did any of the transformations overstay their welcome, and I didn't find any of them to be sour grapes. A game can have a ton of different gameplay styles and still be fun. It's just with a lot of ideas, a game runs a risk of having bad ones, but thankfully, Showtime does not with the transformations. The controls prevent any of the transformations from being too convoluted. You use A to jump, and B to perform an action. I will admit, it's a bit too simple, but regardless, I found the gameplay to be very enjoyable in Showtime across the board. The main problem with the gameplay is the lack of backtracking. In Super Princess Peach, you'll need to rescue all the toads in a level, and if you miss one, you usually can go back and find it. But in Showtime, if you miss a sparkle gem or other collectible, it's often too late. I get backtracking might not have been ideal, considering the gameplay changes up, but a chapter select would have been very nice, considering that these are pretty long levels. After going back to Super Princess Peach, it made me realize even more that Princess Peach Showtime is a bit too simplistic. It primarily relies on just 2 buttons. It needed an extra level of depth to the gameplay, Beyond just performing actions with B and jumping with A, Super Princess Peach managed to have more nuanced gameplay that has more appeal. It's easy to understand for beginners, but can also be just as enjoyable to experienced players. Whereas with Princess Peach Showtime, it does seem like it was made specifically with a younger demographic in mind, rather than it being designed for all players to enjoy. I gotta be real, I enjoyed Princess Peach Showtime, but I must admit, I did find Super Princess Peach gameplay-wise to be a more fun game. I won't knock Showtime for the transformations and variety, but Super Princess Peach is a much faster paced game, has more depth, and is overall more fun and better designed. Point for gameplay goes to Super Princess Peach. This is going to be a very interesting battle. When it comes to the visual presentations, both games have a very distinct style. Super Princess Peach is a bit similar to Yoshi's Island, but definitely has its own identity and flair. Vibe Island consists of very pastel colors for the environments. It looks excellent and suits Peach well, but the real highlight of the presentation is just how expressive the enemies are, and the enemy variety in general. Now, I'm not talking expressive as in the sense of Super Mario Bros. Wonder. I'm talking full-on emotional enemies. There are cheerful Koopa Troopas and Piranha Plants, but on the other hand, Goombas and Spikes can get pretty pissed off. And Rex from Super Mario World even returns completely sad. Yeah, if I was one of the coolest Mario enemies, yet only got used for 2 games, I too would be very sad. My favorite though is Emo Dry Bones. We're getting straight out of Hot Topic with this one. Super Princess Peach has a very unique style, and it's incredibly nice to look at. It does go for sprites, and I do feel it would have been able to be done on the Game Boy Advance, so it's not pushing hardware, but that's fine. Though I do think it would have looked even cooler with new Super Mario Bros.-esque 3D graphics, but with the emotional enemies and pastel environments. The theming goes even harder in Princess Peach Showtime. Good Feel is known to go all out with a theme, and the theme here is theater. Every level is crafted to look like a play. They consist of props, and even the enemies sometimes have strings. Now, I love the theming, and the game often is charming, but it's prevented from being truly impressive due to one crucial flaw. The resolution is bad. It looks kinda blurry, and it looks even worse in handheld mode. I understand that some games need to make sacrifices in order to run properly or be at a higher resolution, but there's no reason why Princess Peach Showtime shouldn't be able to run at 1080p. It's not a demanding game, it just seems that Good Feel isn't good at optimizing Unreal Engine 4 games. Once again, the 2 games came very close, but for visual presentation, I have to give it to Super Princess Peach. If it weren't for the poor resolution, Princess Peach Showtime would be the winner. I'm hoping that there will be a resolution to the problem in a future update for Princess Peach Showtime. Point goes to Super Princess Peach for visual presentation. When it comes to music, Super Princess Peach sounds good. A few tracks stand out, such as for Fury Volcano and Giddy Sky, but for the most part, it just sounds nice. Nothing bad about it, but nothing outstanding either. Just overall good and pleasant to listen to. Princess Peach Showtime, on the other hand, goes for a more orchestral soundtrack. If you've ever played a Good Feel game before, you'll know exactly what to expect from Showtime, but where the music truly stands out is how well it fits each play. The mermaid songs feel straight out of a Disney movie, and the ninja and kung fu songs have that Far Eastern sound to them. I will admit, Princess Peach Showtime's soundtrack isn't as fire as something like Super Mario Bros. Wonder, but that's mainly down to my preference in music. Everything in Showtime is of very high quality, and it sounds excellent. Not saying that Super Princess Peach has a bad soundtrack, but Princess Peach Showtime's soundtrack completely blows it out of the water. I'm not even accounting for the technical limitations. It just overall has better melodies and has more variety. Point for music goes to Princess Peach Showtime. Bosses in Mario games are always a fun talking point, because they're almost the worst part of the games. It's almost like Mario games just can't handle having actual boss battles. But these are Peach games, and Peach games show Mario who's boss. Super Princess Peach's boss fights usually start off with a touchscreen focused minigame. It's clear they were added just to show off the DS's touchscreen, but they're still quite enjoyable, even though they're unnecessary. But the boss fights themselves are actually really good. You'll primarily be using Peach's emotions to take out bosses, and they take more than 3 hits to take out, so that's a huge plus. It's actually very creative how you go about defeating them. The first boss is Petey Piranha, and you take him out by crying when he's laughing and filling him up with tears. King Boo is also present, and you take him out by lighting up the candles. The fake King Boo, by the way. Some of the bosses are even new, though most of them are Mario staples. The same cannot be said for Princess Peach Showtime. Not a single boss or even enemy is reused from a Mario game. Everything is totally original, and the boss fights are also very creative. The main difference is that the boss fights are accompanied with actual stages, so it's not just fighting the boss, but clearing obstacles as well. The only issue with the boss fights are the amount of them, or should I say, lack thereof. There's only 5 of them in total, whereas Super Princess Peach has 8. It's not a quality over quantity thing either, because Super Princess Peach has both of them. Both games have great bosses, but Super Princess Peach gets the point for bosses simply because there's more of them. A wise man once said, "An artist respects the silence that serves as the foundation of creativity." And he's right. Creativity is one of the most important aspects in a game. In fact, the lack of creativity in Mario games from 2012 to 2016 is often considered the worst era for the entire series. The creativity is a huge reason why the GameCube, Wii, and DS games are looked back upon so fondly and they're so beloved. Super Princess Peach is a very creative game. All the mechanics and ideas are quite creative, even if they were only used for this one game. This also applies to the theme of emotions throughout the game. Even the locations put a nice spin on typical Mario locations, mostly because of the pastel environments giving them a unique look. But if I'm being completely objective, I will admit, Super Princess Peach is a little bit derivative of Mario games and Yoshi's Island. Not to the point of derivative like New Super Mario Bros. U, just ever so slightly. There are original enemies and bosses, but having a few more of them would have been cool. Now with Princess Peach Showtime, does it mean that Mario mandates are gone when there's pretty much zero influence from the Mario series? Pretty much everything about the game is created from the ground up. The location of Sparkle Theater, the plays themselves, and all the characters other than Peach and the 2 Toads are completely new. It's interesting because you may think the game would feel too foreign from the Mario series. There are games like that in the series. Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope is a game that feels completely alien from the Mario series, but in a really good way. But there's still that feel to the game that makes it feel like it's in the Mario series, from character design to charming theming, though it's definitely more of its own thing, and that is great for a Princess Peach game. The point for creativity goes to Princess Peach Showtime, but with that being said, I actually like how Super Princess Peach feels more in line with a Mario game. Since it's a role reversal game, it makes sense for the game to feel like a Mario game, but with its own flair. What Super Princess Peach did, it works perfectly for one game. Though if there was an entire series where it was just Peach rescuing the Mario Brothers from Bowser, that could get kind of boring, which is why Princess Peach Showtime is a more interesting direction for successors. The final battle is not only with the amount of content, but the replay value. Essentially, which game would I rather come back to? Think of it as a culmination of all the categories. There's a crucial aspect of Super Princess Peach I didn't address in my retrospective 2 years ago. I may have missed it then, but I'm going over it now. In order to beat the game, you need to rescue all the Toads. think of it as if in New Super Mario Bros., you would need to get all the star coins in order to beat the game and reach the final boss. So a good chunk of completing the game comes from rescuing the Toads, which you're gonna have to do anyway. There are also a few other collectibles. Levels will have optional puzzle pieces to find, and there's even a glossary of the enemies that you encounter. One of the best parts of 6th to 7th gen Nintendo games is how chock full of content they are. This was before DLC, so there was a much stronger push to release games that are rich in content. But you know what? Outside the sports games, Nintendo is still pretty great at releasing games with a lot of content. Princess Peach Showtime also has a good amount. You're not rescuing Toads this time, but the levels have sparkle gems to obtain, as well as bows and ribbons for Peach and Stella. There are a ton of sparkle gems, and you don't need all of them to beat the game. But if you're going for 100%, getting all of them will at least double your playtime. There's some additional post-game content, as well as additional levels, not to mention the wardrobe of dresses you can unlock for Peach and Stella. The only thing holding back the content is a flaw with the gameplay, that being the lack of backtracking and a chapter select. Considering the levels are quite long, it's not ideal to replay an entire level just to get that one sparkle gem you missed. But since the game is enjoyable, I still had fun replaying it. In terms of the amount of content, both games are about the same, but when it comes to which game I'd rather go back to, I'd have to go with Super Princess Peach. It's overall more replayable, and I enjoyed going back to it more than I did with Princess Peach Showtime. Point for content and replayability goes to Super Princess Peach. Princess Peach Showtime won the categories of story, creativity, and music, but Super Princess Peach managed to win gameplay, visual presentation, bosses, and content and replayability. Winning gameplay is already a major factor, but considering it won 4 of the 7 categories, the winner of this Trash or Treasure Battle Royale is the original Princess Peach game, Super Princess Peach. With prior battles like New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe vs Super Mario Bros. Wonder, it wasn't even close. But putting Princess Peach Showtime and Super Princess Peach against each other, they often came close to each other. Both games are very different experiences. If I had to choose just one, I'd go with Super Princess Peach. It's overall a more fun game and more well designed. While I did want a sequel to it, I'm also quite happy we got Princess Peach Showtime. It has more potential for a series, considering the new characters and world it introduced. So I'm not disappointed we got Princess Peach Showtime rather than Super Princess Peach 2. But for another Peach game, here's what I'd recommend. I'm hoping for the next Princess Peach game, it combines the creativity and characters of Showtime with the faster paced, better gameplay and mechanics of Super Princess Peach. It wouldn't even need to be a 2D platformer. I think it would be really cool for the next Peach game to be similar to Super Mario 3D World, where it's a linear 3D platformer. I'd bring Peach's moveset and parry back from Super Princess Peach, and the transformations from Showtime could be power-ups. Also having Grape return as Peach's nemesis would be great. Like I said before, I'd highly recommend checking out both Super Princess Peach and Princess Peach Showtime, but if there's only one winner, Super Princess Peach reigns supreme. So what do you guys think? Which game do you prefer, and why is that? Let me know in the comments, and as always, keep calm and dot on.